And we're back.
I think so.
Hey.
I think we're back.
I hope so.
Well, it says we're streaming. Welcome back to the EST Hangout. We're on a different channel now. I just got to make sure we're working.
Double check
we are.
that, Matthew.
Hey, look at this. I think
All right.
We're on YouTube. We're on YouTube. Somebody's standing up and down.
Technical difficulties.
Welcome back to the EST Hangout. Matt Awanek, Tom Gazzola, Wil Fraser, Andrew Peard with you. Not sure when we went down because we were having a good time. You text me going, I think our stream's down. People are texting in. But now we're back.
You texted that to him?
I know.
Correct.
I'm not going to say anything about that.
This is why if you guys would just hold hands, you could have just given him like a quick squeeze.
Okay, Dusty's over there doing things.
I don't even think Dusty is here.
Oh, he's not?
No, he's gone.
Oh, he's gone. Thank you, Eric.
He's gone.
I did not know he was not here. But technical difficulties aside, we're having a phenomenal conversation.
You know, I'm wondering, did people miss my Calgary Flames logo comment or not?
Should we say that?
No, I know.
Oh, man.
People,
we can't say it again.
I don't know. Well, no, because it's not going to work. And I'm also not going to say it again. I'm not. If you guys even say it, I'm just going to deny. That wasn't what it was. So we missed some gold there.
That was amazing.
I don't know what else we missed. We'll have to combine it later.
Yeah.
So to summarize, Maddie just appreciates that the Flames will be wearing a different jersey than the Oilers for the Heritage Classic.
No, they're fancy.
It's the way sports should be played.
It is the way
not wrong.
Should be
there
played.
And see two different teams visually. That's all I want in sports.
Hey, as long as you can differentiate them,
it's a broadcaster. I feel like that's especially important.
Huge.
So that's all I care about. I just want to watch games and know there are two different teams playing each other.
Let's talk about the Heritage Classic real quick.
Let's.
I am detecting a distinct lack of buzz about it.
It's like flat soda.
Here's my hypothesis. It's too early.
Really?
To have the game like in October?
Yeah, I think there is a charm in this town to misery in weather. And the idea that we won't freeze to death actually takes away from some of the charm that event, because anyone who went to the original one remembers it was minus 20 degrees and we were all dying.
Yeah.
But we all bonded around the fact that we were all there and we were all dying.
It's the experience.
Yeah. So is it a case of like it's either too early in the hockey season or the weather isn't indicative of what it means to be in Edmonton and outdoors for a hockey game sort of thing?
Phrase, I honestly think that this game is just being forced upon everybody.
Yeah.
I think that the league doesn't really give two, what's about this game.
Right.
Last I checked on the national broadcast from ESPN and TNT, this game isn't on the schedule unless that's changed. And I just think there's been so many of these Heritage Classics, even though this is the 20th anniversary of the original. I think it's become a regionalized event.
Yeah, listen, I'm happy it's happening.
Same,
I think it's going to be a great time. It's just it does not seem to be generating the same sort of anticipation. And I guess it probably couldn't. Like the first ever was the first ever. It was always going to be bigger than everything else. But yeah, end of October just kind of feels like doesn't really even feel like hockey season yet, does it?
Well, it's fair. I went to two Heritage Classics, not the original here. It was way too cold. And I know you said people bonded over that. They talk about that. I get it. But people had like frostbite. Dusty had to steal a blanket from people he went to the game with that were basically strangers. And we hear those types of stories. But I do remember going to the one in Vancouver. It was the Sens and the Canucks. What a weird matchup.
Yeah.
It was indoors at BC Place. That's when I was like, oh, this is not as special as I thought it was going to be. The one in Winnipeg kind of rekindled it because I thought that was a great event and they did a fantastic job in Winnipeg. The Calgary one, McMahon Stadium sucks, and I don't know how much it can really add to an event because it's not a great venue. And then the Regina one seemed all right, but that's not an NHL city. So it just feels like there's going to be the Stadium Series, there's going to be the Winter Classic, and then we've got the Heritage Classic on top of it. Like it just feels like the air has been deflated from the balloon, and that 14 Vancouver Ottawa one, I thought was when it started to really.
We also blame the collapse of the Flames a little bit as well.
Well, that for this game, I would say a little bit.
Yeah,
it's not as competitive.
This was the Flames from a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
I think we're all chomping at the bit to see those two teams go head to head.
I think people are going to get so behind this game when it comes in October.
I think so.
I think it will be big, and I do think. Care what the U.S. thinks about this one. I don't care what TNT thinks about this one because in the end, it is 20 years of having a Heritage Classic and the first NHL outdoor game. And the Oilers need to be able to celebrate that. And it has to be, you have to pick either it's going to be 20, 25. One of those two you have to do. So doing it at 20, I'm completely okay with this. And that's just what it's for, is to honor where all of them have come from. But the Vancouver one, like that's always going to be poor because you're indoors. It's not truly, was the roof open?
No.
And that's like not truly an outdoor game if you're inside.
Yeah. They had the roof open like the day or two prior, and it got cold. It was only like 10 degrees inside BC Place. It was chilly. It was weird. It was just strange.
Feels like it sounds like how it is in the press box of Rogers. Just gonna say.
This is true. The broadcasters have space heaters
outdoor game
there.
No, never been to an outdoor game. Just to Will's point though about people rallying around it being cold. I will say this though. I was at the 2011 Grey Cup here in Edmonton with Saskatchewan, Montreal.
2010.
2010.
Yeah.
And that was bitterly cold. Never want to go do that again.
Yeah.
No. It was. I enjoyed it in the moment, but I would much rather take in, when it's 0 degrees, 5 degrees. Yeah.
See, and with the Canadian soccer games for the World Cup qualifying, the Friday it was around like -2, -3, and then there was the snow one with Mexico Azteca where it was -15, whatever it was in the snow. And the better game as a fan for me was that second game.
Yeah.
It was that experience of also being there where it was cold, snow, me and Eric had to literally walk through like a bunch of snow mounts on the street getting there. And you knew everyone else had to do the exact same thing. And I don't know, it added that little extra something. That's where the Heritage Classic for me in 2003, I was there. In fact, it was that cold. Like if that day was -5. I don't think we talk about it as much as we did now, where it's like, I toughed it out. I got frostbite on my toes.
Lost my pinky toe.
But it was worth it.
Yeah.
Well, and then they did the two games the same day.
Yeah.
Usually the alumni game, I think, has now been separated.
Yeah, they separated it. That's how it was.
And there wasn't one this year, but everyone that was there had to sit through the -25 through 2 games.
Yeah.
What a time that was.
And that's another thing is, I'm glad you brought it up. There is no alumni game.
Yeah. Which seems like a really missed opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could literally have the guys that played in the original game that were on the NHL squad playing in this one, and it would be a nice signal of time of transition from the 80s guys who have had hip surgery. They live all over the continent. Some don't even live in North America and don't want to play anymore, right?
Yeah.
And by all accounts, there were a few guys that didn't even want to come for an alumni event either, talking to them and being told what they felt about this. So you could have had like the roster from 2003 playing in this.
I was going to say,
the newer generation.
I'd be ready to see Doug Waite and Bill Guerin out there again.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so that is a missed opportunity, and so that's part of why there's no buzz going into this thing. I think it adds to why there's no buzz going into
this
thing.
Week will be fun, I think, though. Especially, I can't wait to hear what the full announcements are and who the concert is around it. But I think that's
Brett
the week.
Kissel, Doc Walker, Emerson Drive,
let's not go there.
Fort Bamford.
So, but that's
and they're all great artists.
Is that the actual announcement?
No,
okay,
I'm being facetious, but they're the old standbys that we know and love around here.
I think, but sometimes it doesn't matter who's playing. It's about the party and the drinking. That week, I think the Oilers are doing the Doug Waite and early Huddy night, are they not? I think it's the week.
I did not read the press release.
I think
it's unread in my email.
But I think that's going to add to the excitement of that week is that it's now you got the night where people get to honor Charlie Huddy and Doug Waite. And then that's going to lead into it. And even though there's no alumni game now, though, there's going to be that night at least where fans could come and once again say thanks to those two.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll lead into everything that's going to happen on Saturday. Waite's a great choice.
Oh man,
for the Hall.
Yeah,
he's a bona fide Oilers Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. It's so funny. You and I had a discussion years ago. I think you were still working for the team at that time, and you had a chance to meet Doug Waite for the first time.
Yeah.
And he was the Oiler for me, right? Like when I was in my early 20s and stuff like that, those were the Doug Waite years. And I loved the guy and I loved those teams and they were fun to watch. And I'd had the chance to meet him a couple of different times. And I think I had started reporting on the Oilers when he was still on the team and stuff like that. And you had never met him. And you came in, you're like, I think I'm in love. I think I met the most charming person I've ever met in my life. And I was like,
what people think when they were Tom Gazzola.
Exactly. I was like, Doug Waite. And he was like, it was Doug Waite.
Yeah. I'm still in awe of Doug Waite and phrase, like that old saying, never meet your heroes, always disappoint. He is the opposite of that. He lives up to it. He's the exception. I've had the good fortune of running into him a couple of times since I saw him this summer.
Yeah.
And he actually, yeah. And he goes to his wife, he goes, "Oh, you remember Tom from Edmonton?" She's like, "No."
Why?
No, and that's just, it was at a concert. Everybody it was in the summer. People were having libations. And I was just like, oh my God,
my best friend.
Remember that time? And then he talked to me for 10 minutes after. That was awesome. Yeah. I'm like fidgeting like Chris Farley with Paul McCartney. But he is honestly such an amazing dude. And then you talk to his former teammates and they say the same thing. They're the reason. And he in a really dark time in the organization, although we didn't know how dark it would get. Afterwards, he was one of the bright lights. And it's just too bad. Like I was happy for him in 2006 when he won a Stanley Cup. Unfortunately,
he was the only thing that they like that saved the pit of despair.
Can I do the voice? Well, at least Dougie won one.
Yeah. At least
that's what you heard a lot of around here.
It's one of those things where he's a favorite. People don't hold that against him.
Yeah, exactly. Our hearts were ripped out, but we're still kind of like, well, at least Dougie.
And he's lifting it with like a broken shirt. You're like, well, at least he won.
Yeah, exactly.
It should be in the other jersey, but he won one. All right.
Yeah. There are many other Oilers or former Oilers, I should say, that have left that we have still loved that much.
Cujo
for sure. Except he went to Toronto.
And it was
like
2.5 years.
It was hard not to hate him in a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey.
Maybe I was just too young. I don't think hate on Toronto was as bad then as it is now.
No, it was.
Was it?
I don't remember it being.
I don't remember it being like that.
Yeah. No. It's actually funny when Cujo left for Toronto. I was in Edmonton I was at a goalie school. I would have been, what would I have been, 11 years old. And A Channel came by because I was wearing my Curtis Joseph Oilers t-shirt, did an interview with me. And I remember that's kind of how I found out that he left because obviously I wasn't following the news. And someone asked me, well, how do you feel about him now playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs? And you could just see it was like Ralph Wiggum when Lisa broke his heart. You could just see him. And this is the moment Andrew Peard just questioned his love of the Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, they just couldn't
on A Channel.
Those guys. Oh no.
We're gonna need to go find this.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to look back at the salaries that were handed out right before the major lockout and compare them to the salaries now, because Curtis Joseph would still make the exact same amount that he made in Toronto right now if he was still playing. Like that's how much some of the salaries have come down for elite level players. Like Doug Waite left Edmonton and made $9 million a season.
Yeah.
Like,
well, the ceiling has come down.
Doug Waite, like nowadays, would be in that $9 to $10 million range.
That's a good point.
It's wild to think that Doug Waite in his prime in like 2002 or whatever it was made $9 million. And Connor McDavid makes 12.5 in 2023.
But the flip side to that is you needed that the NHL will say is you needed that hard cap in. So low markets like the Oilers at the top and the Flames and the Sens could compete.
Yeah.
But that has now completely put a ceiling on what the max players are going to be able to make. And they haven't had the revenue
it has also done exactly what they wanted to do, which was it has leveled the playing field. Like guys, like Seattle made the playoffs last year. And if there's no salary cap, Seattle doesn't touch the playoffs for a decade. So, and the Las Vegas Golden Knights won a Stanley Cup. And maybe in the old system, they could have just bought the players. But even then, like, it's the ability for teams to become competitive quicker. It has happened, right? Like the embarrassment of the Oilers rebuild was not that they had to rebuild, but that they had to keep trying to rebuild.
That it 10 years.
Yeah, that they kept getting the formula wrong.
That's very true.
Yeah.
To that. Like, oh, new coach. Oh, new GM.
Yeah, exactly.
2 years later, new coach again, new GM. A year later, new coach, and it's like new players.
Also believing in players for too long, right?
Yeah.
Like this.
You know what? I'll say this. Maybe people agree, maybe they disagree. That's fine. Chime in 780-218-9999. I think they were too loyal to the 2006 team. And they rewarded those guys with contracts.
Well, yeah, but
because they had
earned that loyalty, though, right?
But they also had 5 players desert them.
Yeah,
players who they brought in that year.
Yeah,
in Spacek, Pronger, Packout, Samsonov, and Tarnstrom.
Yeah,
and the only person to stay was Rolison. So you couldn't afford to have Pisani leave. You couldn't afford to have anyone else leave. Mm-hmm. You needed to reward them because you just lost on 5 key pieces.
And it was a situation you were always going to make the wrong call.
Yeah.
Right. Like you were so gutted by having a top 3 player in the league at the time leave you that there was never going to be a right.
You're never going to be better when you trade away Chris Pronger.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, but man, they just kept banging. Like, it's interesting watching the Anaheim Ducks go through something pretty similar right now. They have that Trevor Zegras kid, and you can tell they're not quite sure, is this the kid that you build a franchise around, or is he the kid that ends up destroying your franchise? They can't quite figure it out. And it's very similar to the Oilers. They're in a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation there. So it'll be interesting to see how long their rebuild takes in comparison as well.
Well, we're creeping into year 5 of their rebuild.
Yeah.
Right. So,
well, the problem we have with the rebuild is when Dallas Aikens is your coach, you're not going for.
Oh man, poor
I have
Dallas.
nothing. No, poor Dallas. No, there's a guy that doesn't deserve poor Dallas from Edmonton.
He and I are going for a run later.
I don't care.
You take that back.
Oh, he's in town.
No chance he's going to be back in Edmonton.
Yeah, no.
I'm not going into Dallas Aikens.
Yeah,
I'm not going. With rebuilds, Kings are going through their recycle. Is it a rebuild in Double Juniors? Is it called that way? Is it a retooling type thing?
Like retooling, reloading.
I was going to say the Oil Kings seem to do it right.
Yeah.
This weekend split against Red Deer.
Yeah.
Both were winning on the road though.
Yeah.
How did the team look through those two?
Looked really good. Obviously it's early on in the season in the Western Hockey League. Usually that first weekend, a lot of teams are still missing some key guys at NHL camps. The Rebels are no different. The Oil Kings are no different. One of our best defensemen's at Anaheim Ducks camp. Wojtek Port, along with Nathan Pilling down in Calgary. So, missing key guys, but it was great to go into Red Deer and win. They swept the season series last year, which is a 9-game season series. So it was nice to get one over those guys and just top to bottom. I mean, and then the home opener, we had them. It was 3-2 Oil Kings until 6 minutes left, and credit to the Rebels. They fought their way back and won. But I think this is a new look Edmonton Oil Kings team this year. Some of the additions that the team has made instant impacts. Aiden Litke, 3 points in the season opener. Marc Lajoie is just a horse on the back end, 6'6", and he knows how to use that. So it's exciting times for the Edmonton Oil Kings as we're sort of, last year wasn't what you would call year 1 of the retooling. That was just sort of, we won the championship the year before. Yeah. We got to get through this year. That's
the hangover.
Yeah, like we got to move out some older guys and recuperate some picks. And this is truly, year 1, and I think it's off to a great start. And then this weekend we got Lethbridge in town, so it should be fun.
Well, yeah. Once you start with a win against Red Deer, like I think some people were looking at that, going, "Okay, maybe a loss to open the season, not a big deal." But you look at the scoreboard, and like, "Oh, geez, they won!" Like that's just—it's a good way to start the season for the Kings.
Yeah. Peard, I feel like I know what the answer is going to be, but realistically, are we talking? Can this team obviously double its victories from last year, and then maybe even creep towards 30 wins in a quick turnaround?
Yeah, I think that's the immediate goal is double that up, get to 20 wins this year.
10
last year. So And then I think once this team gets to 20, and I think it'll come sooner than what the team is anticipating, I think then the goal becomes 30, and the goal becomes let's get ourselves into the first round of the WHL playoffs and get some real good experience for some of our younger players for not just this year, but next year and the year after that.
I know offense was a struggle last year. Where is that right now? And you mentioned the additions that are going to be key. Yeah. But offensively, are we pumping in more than what was it, like 130 something last year?
Yeah, I think it was 133 really last year. Yeah, less than really 2 per game from the team, but already the team 4 goals in the season opener, and then 3 goals on Saturday. But
7 through 2 games is very nice.
Yeah, we'll take that. And I just mentioned the guy Aiden Litke. He adds a little bit of skill up front. Adam Yeko, our new import player this year, he's very much likely to be at least a second rounder, if not a first rounder, depending on how the season goes for him. Nice. And we're still without Gavin Hodnett. He's going to be back in a couple weeks, recovering from injury, and Ty Nash. He's kind of month to month right now. But once you get those 2 players back in, all of a sudden the Oil Kings, who really only had, at times 2/3 of a top line last year, you got 2 scoring lines that you can rely on. So it's going to be much improved there. The back end is the strength of the team. Any 6 guys they roll out that they have on their roster, they're very comfortable with. So, if they can keep up the offense, I think, a lot of good things are going to happen for this team.
I'm not going to lie. It would have been nice to see the Oil Kings at Commonwealth Stadium.
Yeah, it would have been.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Now, Regina played the outdoor in Regina. Has it happened with anyone else?
I think
with the NHL
game in Hamilton, and the Bulldogs played.
Did they?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I think OHL and AHL versions, because there was just a one-off outdoor game that wasn't an NHL event. I think that happened years past at Ivor Wynn, and then there was one at Tim Hortons Field, if I remember correctly.
And I can see this being because it's an NHL thing, not an Oilers thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And it's not as if the Oil Kings were an afterthought in this. You got to take into account the scheduling of everything that's going on. And
are you guys out of town?
We are in town, but it's the Portland Winterhawks are coming through, so you're kind of at the mercy of having them on their Central Division road trip, where there's a specific day that you can basically get them on. And so, unfortunately, it just didn't line up. So.
And then they need time to practice on the ice and get that trade. It would be kind of cool, though, if this was done. Where you'd have, if you had weekends, ideally, when 20 years from now, when the Oilers do this again or whatever it might be, have an Oiler game, have an Oil King game, have Bears McEwen play.
Yes, that would be awesome.
It'd be fun to have a little weekend event where there's a couple of different games that kind of could be played.
Could you imagine a Golden Bears versus Dinos game?
Screw the Dinos.
Hey, they're pretty good
Edmonton,
team.
Calgary in the
teams. Let's have the Edmonton teams play.
WHL.
I don't know. Calgary doesn't have
at the collegiate level.
Keep Calgary out of there as much as you can.
You are just so anti-Calgary.
Ever since they started wearing their own jerseys.
They won the Grey Cup on that field in 2018. They don't need anything else there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long memory.
He was better that day.
Safety's not that long ago.
It's 5 years.
It's long enough. It's long enough to let something go.
I'm talking about those seats.
If it makes you feel better, Edmonton won at McMahon in 1993.
It's fine, but I was only 2.
They did it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's do it again.
Is that Damon Allen? I think that was Damon.
That was Damon Allen. That's right.
Sean Fleming. I think that was first year, second year. He was the most outstanding Canadian. MOC
there you go.
Of that game or whatever.
It's been done. It took Calgary,
but that
25 years to
that doesn't mean I should be okay with Calgary winning at Commonwealth Stadium.
Yeah, but
we should be okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's okay.
Actually, I think that's exactly what it means. I think we should just be okay with that.
It's okay with Calgary. No. Edmonton Sports Talk, guys. Edmonton. Calgary, Alberta Sports Talk.
Breaking news. It's all starting Calgary Sports Talk tomorrow. Owonix the PD.
No chance.
Is this the point where I give you a hug and just tell you it's going to be okay?
It's Calgary. ABC, baby.
You're very fired up.
That's passionate. I understand why you might not be as passionate about hatred for Calgary. 2 of you should be.
Well, if they didn't beat Edmonton.
I have a lovely time every time I go there. Do I particularly enjoy the city? No, I find it very similar to this one.
Oh, so what, a Heritage Classic? You hope everyone have a good time?
Yeah, basically.
Just all everyone.
I'm more worried about myself having a good show post game and pregame, and then having a good time after.
Pretty sure that's exactly what most people feel like. I hope everyone just has a good time.
I had a great time. Did the team win?
I hope
14 beers.
the
Taught me
20.
$1,000.
I hope the 20 guys wearing the Calgary Flames special uniforms that say Calgary on them, along with their coaching staff, have miserable days.
Wow.
I hope they hate their experience and never want to play in a Heritage Classic again.
We got a text that came in via the inbox 780-218-9999. It's from Mitch. Mitch says, "Hey guys, just tuning in. Missed opportunities is a perfect description for the outdoor jerseys. Why would they not go for a redesign of the 90s, early 2000s? Look, both teams, the copper oil rigger logo was always criminally underrepresented, and the Flames horsehead logo could have had an amazing redesign. It also would have fit a new alumni theme. Sigh. Pretty disappointed. I hate the jersey, but I love the look. Brown gloves and pants. Enjoying the new format. Cheers, Mitch." Can I take a crack at the 2000s, late 90s look? They don't want to go back to that, from what I'm told. And I appreciate, again, I'll say, they went with a look that they haven't done before instead of recycling an old look. And then Calgary just did the blasty horsehead logo
again.
The
flaming cow.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad memories as Oilers fans with that one.
And I'll add one more thing.
Again, let's just own the Oilers in that one.
Yeah. For Mitch, the Oilers alumni in the events that they will be participating in this year and moving forward, I understand they are going to the copper and blue uniforms.
I will say I'm okay with them not doing the 2000s just yet, because now I'm going to start feeling old.
Yeah.
Well, it's like about time you start feeling old.
Well, I know, but
47.
It's one of these things where I'm okay thinking that wasn't that long ago and it's not quote unquote retro yet.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go back to the 50s. I'm okay with that. I could still feel a little young.
I'm always doing this like with my kids when they're like listening to like my music from like the early 90s, and I'm kind of like, if this was me, like this would be me listening to 50s music at the same age. Like, it does seem like culture has slowed down a little bit. It's okay to think that 20 years ago was a long time. 20 years ago is a long time ago.
Did you guys hear about Dane Cook's marriage to the 24-year-old?
Yeah.
And
so, did I hear about? You lost me at Dane Cook. So
I'm aware. At the wedding, apparently, they played 80s music because, according to the bride, they both grew up on 80s music.
Oh my goodness.
She was born in the 90s and stuff, but it's just...
She was born in like 98.
I know, it was just like, they both grew up listening to 80s music. Like, really? Hey! Sorry, read that yesterday. Had to go there.
Are all their wedding photos them doing like the shocker? Like,
oh no.
Oh no.
It's the only Dane Cook cut I know.
I didn't know how he's still a thing.
Keeping it classy.
Peard, Wil Fraser, Tom Zola, Manawanek with you here on the EST Hangout on EdmontonSportsTalk.com and watching on YouTube. Favorite Oiler jersey of all time, actually. You guys have one? Like, like the best?
I actually really like the road whites. Like, I always liked those for whatever reason, whether it was the old Nike, the CCMs, when they went to Reebok, and then now Adidas. I just like that look. It's like an old standby. It's always there for you.
You're always going to be partial to anything they won a Stanley Cup in, right?
Oh,
that's all. You're never going to look at that jersey.
Watch them win Stanley Cup.
Like, you're never going to look at that jersey and be like, "Wow, that's an ugly jersey." You know, the one with Wayne Gretzky's wearing, holding a Stanley Cup over his head. No, you're always going to think that thing's beautiful. But I'm that weird hipster that actually liked the original McFarlane third jersey.
I don't mind that.
I like the midnight blue. I like
hates that one.
Most people hate
it. It was the number one selling third jersey in hockey
for a while. At the time. Yes.
Dave Jamieson can't stand
JMO.
He says when you have to explain a jersey, it's great. Like, really? He can't stand that.
We need JMO back here immediately.
He'll be here on Friday.
We're the better is usually my opinion.
I thought at the time, what was it, 2001, they unveiled them. I would have been 15. I was like, oh, this is cool. And I love comic books, and I knew who Todd McFarlane was. And I'm like, oh, he designed them. The Spot guy, he does Spider-Man. And He grew up in Londonderry for a brief amount of time.
Mhm.
That's where I was for I think till I was like 10 or so. And so all that time I thought was so cool, and he was a part owner of the team, and I was like, this is awesome. And it doesn't look like an Oilers jersey that we knew. So I like the fact that it was different. Again, kind of like this Heritage Classic jersey that they unveiled today. It's like they've never done this before.
I always feel like the one-off third jersey should be a little unsettling, right? Yeah. Like you shouldn't look at it and be like, oh, that's an Oilers jersey or that's a Flames jersey. Like you should kind of have to look at it with your head tilted to the side and you go, try and figure it out. Yeah.
That looks neat.
Oh, you have a favorite one?
I mean, obviously, going back to the copper and blue, because that was when I really started becoming an Oilers fan, and that's what I remember Doug Waite wearing and Curtis Joseph wearing. So I was always partial to that one. Speaking of hot takes on jerseys, like the two-tone one they have, that one has really grown on me that they've worn in recent years. The blue and the dark blue and orange.
Have my reasons for hating them.
And then they're wearing that just one more year.
Yeah, I found out on Sunday that they're going to keep them for one more year.
Yeah,
so you're a fan of
I like it. And now that I know that Tommy really doesn't like them, I'm going to make sure I pick one up today. And I'm here. I'm going to make sure I got it.
You do whatever you want to do. I want you to be happy, Peard.
Thank you, Tommy.
Yeah. I will say this. I did also grow up on the copper and blue Oiler jerseys. I really don't think they're that nice.
Really?
Yeah. I think they're okay. I think they were neat at the time, but I look at them now and I'm just like, ugh. They've had better uniforms. Now
that's how I feel to anything being called neat.
Yes. Now the jerseys that they got with Reebok right after the Reebok Edge redesign were absolutely putrid and a total mistake.
Is that the one where they didn't have the band around the arms go all the way around?
Yeah. Dumbest jerseys I've ever seen.
Did they run out of thread?
No, it was.
Why would it not go all the way around?
That was an absolutely horrible design. They looked like practice uniforms. I remember when the Oilers switched back to their royal blue and traditional orange full time. I think it was 11-12 where they incorporated the whites again. They had to wear the navies for one more year. I think they wore them for a handful of games. And I also remember they had so much inventory left over that was part of why they had to keep them, so they could try to sell some of whatever was left in the storage units. They're just a total abomination of a uniform.
It's always a good sign when retail controls in-game decisions. Yeah,
always goes well.
Not good.
Nasty chat on YouTube. This is towards Peardsy because you've now started repping.
Oh,
Surveyor Brett comes in. Peardsy looked because you reffed the game with him.
I reffed 2 games with him. We did a double at the Ice Palace.
Peardsy looked okay out there in his first reffing games, but we got to get him some looser fitting pants. Those track pants are painted on his shin pads, says Surveyor Brett.
You have great thighs.
That's what I'm saying. And then,
calves.
I got to work a couple summers ago with Jason Strudwick, and he always told me the tighter the pants you can have out on the ice, the better. So
very
I'm just following that, and felt good out there though.
You do you, buddy.
Yeah.
Did you actually work out with Struddy?
I worked with him at the World Juniors.
Oh,
yeah. So that was good. And reffed a game last night and took a slap shot off the kidney. So that was awesome.
Oh no!
Yeah. Div 19 though wasn't exactly a heater, but
still felt
it. So yeah, but it's fun. It's fun being out there doing that. It's way better to go to a men's league game and not have to pay $800 for the year. Instead, they pay you.
Have you been yelled at yet?
Yes.
Have you yelled back at?
Yes.
Do you use expletives when you yell back?
I did originally, and then I come to find out that you're not supposed to do referee. So,
drop it. Do you know who I am?
I did not. No,
just tell him you're Dustin Nielsen.
That is going to be my plan.
Yeah. No, you'll get punched. Sure. Yeah. You will get punched.
I've played against Dusty in men's league in the summer a couple of years. Maybe it was like 5-6 years ago now, and he did get thrown out of the game.
Yeah, he is unrecognizable when he's on the ice.
And he's good now. He said
he wears a cape.
Yeah, because he started playing over 35.
Yeah,
a couple of times he had to be told like it's over 35, so you can bring it back. But he says he's toned it back.
As soon as you put a cage on, you better watch what you say.
There's no bigger hothead though at men's league hockey than our good buddy Tyler Yaremchuk.
Believe it.
Every game and I played with him and on his team for a number of years. Pretty much every game ends in an absolute, just everyone's on the ice screaming and yelling at each other. I'm the old guy standing on the bench like, oh, geez, I'm getting out of here.
I want to get those drinks in me.
Yeah. So, it's just one of those things.
Does he like get others to fight for him? Or does he is he like one of those agitators?
He probably should. He probably should get other people to fight for him because every time he does. No, he gets in there. Yeah. So it's fun to watch, but you get a little bit nervous for Tyler sometimes that he's poking the wrong bear.
I remember at a charity tournament, he got the other team going, and I think it was in the final we were playing in. And Dusty and I believe, were on the team. And we're like, oh no, I guess, and we did get involved and mix it up. It was not good.
We got in one at a charity street hockey thing.
Yeah, and then
you went full dad on one guy.
I just used my dad voice. Yeah.
You just yelled like "stop" or something.
There was a dirtbag picking on Marc Rougeau.
Well, before we get this was also I think the Bears team.
No, it wasn't
Paul
the Bears.
Brown was supposed to be playing with them, but Paul got kicked out of a charity event smoking cigars.
Yeah,
because what you do at a charity event for cancer is smoke.
Brilliant.
Excellent job, Paul.
Yeah.
And I think it was that team.
You think it was one of the teams, and there was just a dirtbag player out there, and he was. I think now that I think back on it, I think Mageau probably was egging him on a little bit, but he was using his stick a lot, and he was getting on my nerves, and I'd already talked to his teammates, and they're kind of like, oh, whatever, and I was on the sidelines, and I just let rip with the best dad voice you've ever heard, and it shut the place down.
Wow, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Turn your headlight on.
Yeah, it was just one of those. Yeah,
stop, get to your bench or something like that.
Yeah, and I used it at the River Cree a couple of times in men's league and stuff like that. It's a really effective voice. Yeah, I had a teammate who was in the penalty box, and they have the penalty boxes on the same side as the bench, and it's all open behind, and so they were yelling at each other behind, and they were standing up like they were, and I just yelled, "Sit down," and both teams, everyone sat down at the same time. So, once you achieve dad voice, it's a pretty commanding thing to unleash.
Dad voice, I love it.
Yeah, but it can only be used sparingly, or else it becomes mom voice, and you just tune that out. So, yeah, everyone knows mom's voice because it's constant, and you, for some reason, don't even hear it at a certain point.
It's like swearing. If you don't swear, when the F word comes in, it's powerful.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you use the F word all the time, well, it's nothing. You just use the F word again. Cool. You're just a boss. And be cool with your young people.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the last times I played men's league, it was my brother's team, and they were short because it was summer league, and so he was like, "Hey, do you want to come out for?" I was like, "Sure." I haven't played in forever, and I showed up, and it was that classic sort of like you're all in the locker room and you don't know anyone, and no one knows anyone because there's like 8 subs for that game, and so the captain stands up and he's like, "All right, let's do some introductions. I'll read out the lines," and it was like. My brother is Dave. It's like, okay, Dave, you'll be centering your brother Will. Will, stand up. You'll be playing right wing. And so I stand up. And then it's like, and Todd, you'll be playing left wing. And this like 280-pound, 6'6" behemoth stood up. And I immediately just started laughing at the time. Like I was just, and people are like, what are you laughing about? I'm like, I'm just going to be an asshole this entire game. Like I am bulletproof. Like I've never felt more. And Todd never even looked sternly at anyone. He just skated in straight lines up and down. And I found the gap.
Yeah.
Like on the hook. Just about everything.
You were a terrible person for doing that.
That's. But I didn't have to use my dad voice then because I had Todd standing there. Yeah.
It's always nice having backup.
Oh, bulletproof men's league. That's the best feeling in the world when
you couldn't. You always had to be the. Did you hide behind anyone?
No. I was always, but I was never out there to try and intimidate or anything like that. I was just out there for a skate.
But you probably always had the 5' nothings taking runs at you.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
But that's usually it. There's always that Rottweiler, not Rottweiler, like the Chihuahua out there.
Yeah.
Besides, he's got to prove himself against
the world.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like 6'4". That's the thing.
Yeah, he's 110 pounds.
Yeah, that's true. He's a big boy. Like, he's tall, but super skinny.
Yeah. But I mean, he mostly though. I mean, it's the other team, but he loves going at the refs. So my biggest nightmare would be if I have to ever ref one of his games. I think during warm up, I'd just kick him out.
Okay, if you know you are reffing his game, please let us know. Because I would love to come watch this.
Yeah, it would be good.
I think this would be
comical. I find all of this hilarious, by the way.
Would you ever ref?
No. Oh, God, no. Don't even ask.
I just did. It literally just did.
My disdain for officiating in any sport is so high. And they're good people. Jersey included.
I was the same way, though. Brett. If you would have asked me 3 months ago, not a chance. Like, I spend half our broadcast on Oil King games just ripping into the officials.
Yeah.
And then, I wasn't going to play hockey this winter. And I was like, well, I'd still like to get out and skate. And I said, they're looking for refs. Okay, I'll give it a try. And it's been fun.
What is men's league paying these days?
We can talk about it often. I don't want to get into my financials, and so
it's straight cash sort of thing.
It's not. No. It's a legitimate system.
The government's gonna get it.
Well. Yeah. But I used to know guys back in the day that would once again out at the River Cree that would do like a 6-game night, just basically stay there and just hit every single game.
That'd be I did the 2 games in one night, which is good because that makes it worth it. It's $55 a game. So that makes it worth going for a one-off. Especially I live in Northside, and if you got to go to Terwilliger, you hope it's for 2 games at least. But man, my feet were killing me at the end of that. So I don't know, those guys that do 3, 4, 5 games in a day.
And you can tell especially if you got the last slot that they're working, like AMHL or whatever, you're like, this guy's not into it.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify, my disdain for officials is only on the playing surface.
Chicken.
Off the ice, court, field.
At least I hate Calgary all the time. Right? Embrace the heel. Embrace the heel. Wil Fraser, Tom Gazzola, Matawanek, Andrew Peard with you here on the EST Hangout. We'll continue this chat in a few minutes, but we'll take a little bit of a time out. I'm going to actually have to walk to the camera to take this time out, so it's going to be very awkward for everyone. So we go to break, but we'll be back in a few minutes.
Hey, watch Matty go to the camera. Look how awkward it is, and he's taking care of business. Very nice.
Last summer on the Oil Stream, you and I discussed the possibility of Gagne coming back here on a PTO. He signed with Winnipeg and got an actual contract.
Anytime you can have Sam Gagne involved in your organization in any way, it's a major positive for you.
They love him.
The Oil Stream with Nielsen and Gazzola. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District. Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Friend of EST, Eric Thomas, takes you around the track all the way to the checkered flag on Raceline Radio. Tuesday nights at 8 and Saturday morning at 9. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join friend of EST, Guy Flaming, for the Pipeline Show, Monday nights at 8 and Saturday at noon, as he has you covered with CHL, CJHL, USHL, NAHL, NCAA, and U Sports, plus the World Juniors, Frozen Four, and NHL Draft on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Wake up with the Nielsen Show with Dustin Nielsen and Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings 6 to 9 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey, Saturday mornings at 10, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Join Murray McCourt and Curtis Stock for tips and tales from courses around Edmonton and area with the VIP Golf Show, presented by the Tailor Made Performance Center at the Ranch, Sundays at 8:30, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout, and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Text line going. We return here on the EST Hangout. Let's get that text line going. 780-218-9999. Matawanek, Tom Gazzola with you here, joined by Andrew Peard, voice of the Edmonton Oil Kings, and Wil Fraser, who is a runner and occasionally dad voice guy.
And our friend.
Yeah.
Oh, Andrew's our friend too. So just
we know
friend
that.
of the organization.
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
Right now, new episode of the Achy Breaky podcast is being recorded by Dusty and Eric. So stay tuned for when that drops. You a country guy?
Yeah.
Country.
I worked when I first got started in radio. It was at a country music station in Whitecourt, Alberta. So I got plenty of country in. So it was I enjoy it.
Is that when you're doing Whitecourt Wolverines games too?
You betcha.
What shift did you pull? Mornings or?
No, I was fortunate to do the afternoon. So because that's a nightmare. I know a few guys that had to do that. You do the games at night, then you're right there in the morning to do the
guys that do that.
Yeah.
Remember, CG used to have to do an Oilers post-game show after calling an Oil Kings game.
What?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had this boss who Corey was doing the evening show. And
With me.
But then there'd be games. But then you also even went to the morning show.
And then I went to the morning show and
still
he
had to do it.
Still had to do it.
And he had to call, like on the nights that there was an Oil King game, he would call the Oil Kings game, and then he'd have to do a post-game show about a game he had not watched because clearly he didn't watch it because he was watching and calling the Edmonton Oil Kings game.
Would he do them on the road, like when he was doing road games for the Oil Kings too?
I think so. Wow.
Yeah, he would stay at the rink. He would stay at the rink.
Yeah.
What if they were traveling though? Because I mean, oftentimes
I think we'd run a couple pre-records of things, but no, he would have to try to stay there and record it and stuff. It was the worst. It was a weird decision.
That's unfair. Seriously.
That's early 2010s 1260.
Yikes.
We made some unique decisions over there.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah. That boss. I love that boss, actually. He was fun for me. Some people didn't really like him. He's the one that...
No, I did like him. Yeah. He actually got...
I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, that's because he actually got us working on a clock.
Oh, I love keeping my own work on a clock. Those that just run through and bother me so much.
Didn't we run through everything today?
We don't have clocks.
You guys don't have clocks.
When you don't have, like, there are certain times where it's like, no, okay, we got to get to these things. Yeah. We still run on the clock of getting to a guest.
Right.
Like, so if we have tomorrow or today, we had Dean Faithful 8:00.
He was awesome.
I don't want Dusty and Eric going till 8:10 before they take a break to being Dean.
Yeah.
So there's where our clock did.
Right.
There, like, we have to fill commercials. There were obligations we have to get done, so let's follow the clock.
Right.
But he went to the Coliseum to get in a fight with a different host from our station.
What?
Oh,
Yes.
How did I not know this story?
Oh, yeah. No, it was...
All of us worked at 1260 at one point.
Oh, I kind of worked there. I was never actually at the studio ever. Except for Low Tide would occasionally have me bring him coffee and give me 10 minutes on a show.
Yeah. No, he and he used to like
he made some interesting decisions that weren't great, but for the most part, when you talk about the best years at that station, they were the changes that he brought into place that led to them.
No.
Yeah.
The thing that got us to the height was actually flipping to TSN.
Oh, you're right. Like
that was
like the name change
thing.
was
because
we
then got rights to the 2014 Olympics.
Yeah.
And we got massive numbers for that. Yeah. And I think that was the year they just like suffocated the opponents.
But that was the best team we've ever seen in hockey.
I think so.
That team was,
and I think a lot of people tuned in for those games that had never heard about 1260 in their life.
Yeah.
And that sent us where from then on for about 4 years we were the best radio station in the country.
Like no offense to fans of the the first gold medal winning Canadian squad in Salt Lake, but that 2014 team would have strangled the life out of them.
But 02 was some of the most fun hockey.
Yeah, absolutely.
They started off rough too, right? Because they lose to Sweden.
Yeah.
Was it Cujo?
Cujo,
Yeah.
He gets pulled.
Brodeur goes in.
And then they go, and like everyone's thinking they might lose to Sweden. They get Belarus. 5-2
Yeah, it was dramatic.
It was.
You're right. Whereas that 2014 team, like they had won every game before they started it.
Yeah.
Like,
well, their toughest game, which the closest they came to a loss was actually to Latvia.
Yeah.
Didn't they go to like shootouts?
They just ran into overtime. They ran into overtime
because their goalie was hot. He was I can't remember who it was. I know he was a Lightning prospect, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
But they were like, that was a team built to win 1-0 and was a perfect machine.
Well, and they outshot their opponents 3-1. And it didn't matter who the opponent was. Like they just dominated the possession numbers. Like as far as fans of analytics, they were an analytics green team is what they were.
2010 was a lot of fun too, though, because they weren't. It wasn't a guarantee that they were going to win.
No.
Yeah.
Switzerland almost beat them.
Yep. Yeah. Russia was really good that year.
Yeah.
The U.S. was really good that year. I mean, the U.S. is coming now too. But that was 2010 was interesting. I mean, Roberto Luongo in net because he wasn't the original starter, just kind of like an 02 was Brodeur, and it was kind of near the end for Marty, and Luongo came in and stole the hearts of the people of Vancouver. Didn't do it as a Canuck, but
kind of did. Almost.
Yeah.
Like
close. Well, he put that team on his back a lot of years.
He did.
Willed us into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it was that Heritage Classic thing.
That was the undo.
I remember the booing.
Yeah.
When they started, was it Corey Schneider?
Yep.
They didn't dress. Ottawa didn't dress Matt Cassian either. He did take warm up though. That's just a side note there.
Yeah, Vancouver's always been a town of the backup goaltender, hasn't it?
Like they've reduced goalies.
They have.
They often leave.
Yeah, like they seem to always have a good starter and then fall in love with the backup for whatever. Usually because the backup is pretty strong. But
Roberto Luongo, Corey Schneider, Jacob Markstrom, Thatcher Demko.
Yeah.
That's a nice little.
That's a good run.
Alex Auld, anybody?
Yeah.
Wow. Sure. Who are the Flucci with that like old school helmet?
Oh God.
Like Cooper Bucket.
That cannot be safe when you got guys just teeing off slap shots off your forehead. Like, good Lord.
Who else wore that?
Hasek,
Osgood forever.
Archer Zerbe had that.
Archer Zerbe's mask. Remember he's wearing Jofa helmets like Tommy Soderstrom in the 90s? Like the oversized cage. You're like, that can't be safe.
No.
Not at all.
This is also a sport that did play without helmets at all for a long time too. So
very true.
We have to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the ESPN Classics when you see Craig McTavish out there in like 96 and you're like, this doesn't feel safe. Like, how did they allow this to happen?
Like you had Eric Lindros in the league and you got a guy out there
with a helmet on. Yeah. Luckily, they played on the same team there for a little bit. Yeah.
So back to you. Oh, so good.
We were saying YouTube Trev was like, so hey, we just got mail.
All right.
She just walked in and gave us mail.
Nice.
YouTube Trev was so like in awe of meeting Craig McTavish. I don't know if you saw his face.
No, I didn't.
He was just like, it was like the greatest night he ever had. This
my favorite Oilers coach of all time.
He's the reason I wish they won in 06.
Because
he coached the hell out of that playoffs.
Just as a media person, he was just a quote machine.
Yeah.
Like
he was the GM too.
He gave you like we didn't know how spoiled we were holding our microphones in front of him until he was gone. Like he was just a beauty for giving quotes.
One of it, like when he was brought on as GM, and I know that was not a great time for the Oilers, but one of his first press conferences, maybe even his first one, we get into that old press conference room at Rexall. You guys remember it? Smelled like pee. It was an old like auxiliary locker room that they put a carpet and some desks in for working media. Then they had the chairs. And Mac T looks at Stauffer and he goes, "Oh, there's my agent, Bob." Because they've had like a love-hate relationship. Like, there's my agent Bob, and everybody's laughing at Staub. They were like, "It's good to have Craig."
Mac T is a funny guy.
Oh yeah, man,
he is sharp.
I didn't see here. I heard him at the roast of Kevin Lowe was incredible.
He was great.
At Kevin Lowe's retirement night, in his short speech he had, was just hilarious.
Yeah.
Can I say something about the roast of Kevin Lowe and even the roast of Joaquin Gage, where he went up and was one of the roasters? He had never done a roast before, and he didn't really know the concept. So there had been like a few roasters that had gone up. There were some videos that were sent in, and Mac was coming up a little bit later, and there was like a 5-minute break in the program, and I went and I saw him, and he's kind of watching the videos and the roast, and he's kind of like observing to like understand what this really was. And I went up to him like, Mac, it looked like you were watching that video and like studying it. He goes, Tommy, what did I get myself into? And I was like, you'll be fine. He's like, I don't know. And he killed it. He was great. That's how good he is.
An absolute natural in front of a microphone, which is why I've never understood he just didn't do pure TV. Like a missed opportunity.
Have that passion for coaching, you know, and it's a shame it didn't work as assistant in St. Louis. It's a shame he never got an NHL head coaching job outside of the city of Edmonton.
It's crazy to me. Like I never understood that. Like was it something that he didn't pursue, or just?
I think he did.
Yeah.
I just didn't know. I think he said it in a press conference or in some kind of conversation. He got painted as an Oiler.
Yeah.
And that kind of did him in. You know, some believe that. So
he went to Chicago in the American Hockey League.
Yeah.
He spent some time overseas, obviously on the Blues bench recently. I don't know if he's going to get another real like job moving forward. Like I think he would like to.
I think we're going to see him on the broadcast side. Obviously,
he's great on the broadcast side.
Yes,
and it's because sometimes it will be with Stoff.
Yeah,
and he'll still make his comment.
Absolutely,
Stoff. Because, like for those that like this goes back to like the mid 2000s.
It really does.
Bob on Total Sports on Team 1260 at the time, just absolutely ripping on Craig McTavish.
Yeah,
it was something else.
Yeah, they would unload, and I mean, we still do. I mean, you go on X. It's X now, right?
Yeah, whatever. I call it tweeting.
It's Twitter.com.
You go on X nowadays, and there are still people with hot takes about the Oilers and their preseason performance, which is just the most ridiculous thing in the world. But that's the case. That's the city we live in.
Yeah, that's why we get to do this.
Can we take anything from preseason ever in sports?
Like, nor should
Oil Kings, obviously there's going to be who makes the team. There's going to be a couple of things for coaches, but should fans really watch preseason and read anything into it?
No,
not for a mature hockey team.
Well, I'm saying any sport, even in general.
Like you're never putting out your full systems. It's not your full complement of a roster. You've got your lines mixed and matched, and you don't want to show your cards, right? So
if you're a New York Jets fan, you may have wanted to see more snaps from the backup quarterback.
Should get rid of Mike Waite.
How did we know that a 39-year-old went on and told me some to go down?
So, on the flip side, there is an importance to certain preseasons. Like,
the voice of reason.
You need to know what's in the back. Like,
but even then, even with that, you still wouldn't know what that backup could do because it's preseason.
Yeah,
that's true. How many quarterbacks look phenomenal in the preseason in the NFL, and you never hear from them again, right? Like Nathan Rourke, is he going to surface ever in the NFL as a legit guy?
I don't know, but Peard said we just watched Josh Dobbs beat the Cowboys handily. I'm like, what is going on here? Yes, but you're right.
It was a weird weekend in the NFL for that stuff.
Yeah, but quarterback is the most political position, like office politics wise, in all of sport. In that, like, it's not a pure talent situation. It is also an organization that has spent millions of dollars in a scouting department, and that scouting department put their stamp of approval on somebody, and that whole organization will do whatever it takes to validate that decision that was made.
But they're also willing to throw away a quarterback quicker than ever.
Right. Because if
not fight for, and we've seen some quarterbacks.
If the organization doesn't have a stamp of approval on it, you're right. Doug Waite was Doug Flutie was the perfect example of that, in that he had done everything he could in college football, got his chance with the Bears, was good, but because no one had ever vouched for him because he was always too small, he never got a shot. Goes to the CFL, destroys the CFL for as long as he wants, And then once again, signs in the NFL, and some rookie with the stamp of approval in 2 different locations in both Buffalo as well as in San Diego gets the starts ahead of him, even though anytime they gave him the football, he had game-winning drives within him. So it's a weird position that teams are almost willing to lose with the guy they want to lose with rather than win with the guy they didn't choose. It's a weird position.
Drew Bledsoe in Buffalo?
Yep.
No, Brad
Bledsoe
Johnson
was Brad Johnson was Buffalo.
Brad Johnson.
And then
Rob Johnson.
Drew was
Breeze was in
San Diego.
Brad Johnson won with the Bucks, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who now does like these weird like Twitter, TikTok type videos where he's like, I don't know, it's really awkward. He's like throwing footballs.
Yeah, head trauma is a real thing, man.
Dr. Wil Fraser joining us now on the Hangout.
Never look too weird at what former football players do in retirement, man. Like
Fox,
that ringing doesn't go away. Like,
who's your NFL team again?
Oh god, the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, mine too.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of quarterback,
it's awful.
That's the most Jekyll and Hyde quarterback I've ever seen.
Okay, is still right with the coaching.
I don't know, but it's I still have belief in him.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I mean, they got to figure out a way to teach him how to be a proper passer. It can't always just be.
The Bears situation, like that's a rot at ownership that extends throughout the organization.
So Justin Fields is my fantasy QB. Could I trade him and get a different QB?
Depends on the week, man.
Well, who you getting?
I don't know, but I have like a pretty solid team, and I can maybe go win this thing this year.
Well,
is Fields going to hurt me?
Yeah, well, he has so far
points this weekend, and like no one next goes to like 120. So,
but he could also be an absolute fantasy monster.
Last year,
he could also be a fantasy monster. Like
he'll get you 10 points one week, he'll get you 40 points the next.
Exactly.
So,
yeah,
we haven't had those 40 yet this year.
Not yet.
Nope.
No,
I need to start seeing that.
Well, who do they got this weekend? Denver. So,
Denver could give him 30 fantasy points.
How much is Sean Payton right now going, I miss being back in the booth. Why did I sign up?
I would love for Nathaniel Hackett to give him a call right now and be like,
so easy.
Not so easy, is it, pal? Remember 4 weeks ago when you told everybody how bad of a coach I was? Looks like you're really killing it.
70 points.
Once 70. Another organization where the problems start at ownership and extend through the organization.
Not that long ago, like they had it was working there.
Yeah,
and then John Elway,
right? There's a lot of people with opinions who get to make those opinions.
But they did get new ownership recently, so I don't think the new owners have had a chance to really their full imprint on that team.
You gonna kick John Elway out the door?
He's already out the door.
He's gone.
Yeah, but he still has a phone.
That's true.
Yeah, he's still around.
I don't know.
I met him this summer.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
he's done. I would have to think.
I would think so.
If Sean Payton's not turning around with you, no one's turning around with you.
Yeah, small quarterbacks can win, but because of the size of their body, they can't last. And I think that's what we're seeing with a Russell Wilson, where it's just kind of like he had his years, and you kind of have
amazing years,
and you kind of have to get out while you see it in baseball all the time with smaller pitchers, where it's just kind of like, they can come in and they can Tim Lincecum a couple of years a Cy Young, but the body just breaks down way quicker at that size, and that's why that 6'5" quarterback like a John Elway can play until he's 42 because he plays at 230 pounds, right? Like. Just a bigger body, it lasts longer.
I love Tim Lincecum.
Me too. The freak.
He was a freak.
And he was. But you watch his highlights and just his delivery, you're like, that's not going to
that arm is
that joint cannot do that for that long. Yeah.
We won't go further into baseball right now.
Whereas a Randy Johnson basically just reaches from the mound and places the ball into the catcher's mitt.
I was now a photographer.
I was so excited when he got traded to the Yankees, and what a bust that! He was nothing with the Yankees that year.
Some people can handle New York
a little late,
and some people can't.
Randy wasn't cut out for the bright lights of New York City.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Brown was similar too with the Yankees, right? Like they've had a couple of different high-end pitchers who came in and just can't handle that consistent pressure.
I'm excited for baseball playoffs, even though we're not going to be in it. There's nothing like
you play for.
Yeah, I'll still say we. It's the Yankees. I'm not covering a baseball team in this moment. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah, my Cubs are going to just sneak in, I think.
Are they? I
think they're just going to sneak in.
I just don't want to look at the standings. So
yeah, they're fighting with Miami right now.
There's just something about baseball playoffs that is just beautiful.
Because they try in the playoffs. For 162 games, half the team half-asses their effort.
Yeah, but should you try for 100?
Well, I don't. The answer is yes.
Part of the charm of baseball is that even as a fan, you're not supposed to be like on the ball all the time.
That is
right?
very true.
Like you're just supposed to enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Right?
The players very much live that same mantra. But yeah, in the postseason, they all try, and then that's why we see all these great moments,
incredible moments
in the postseason. There is magic in the air with baseball.
Oh, I love it
in autumn.
It's the beauty of the sport, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have a clock. Like that's what makes it completely unique.
Well, it has a clock.
Well, it does now.
Yeah.
No, but like
unfortunately.
But like you can't just rag the puck and hope that time runs.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
You still have to deliver the ball.
Yes.
Did you not see the stats yesterday? There's been 9 games this year or something that have lasted over 3.5 hours.
Yeah. I'm of the belief as a baseball fan. I loved watching when the Yankees played the Red Sox, and it was a 9-inning game, and it took 4.5 hours.
Yes,
I loved it. I loved it.
No,
I don't know. Like that was just the charm of baseball. Like sometimes you're in for it. You know, you never knew what to expect.
Able to have an hour and a half nap between the third and the 8th inning was pretty nice.
Any Blue Jays game every summer, it's like. Well, wake up. Oh, we're only in the 6th inning.
So hard in this one.
I know.
I heard someone say that they don't like the pitching clock. Everyone is like, this is the greatest thing.
It's pretty brilliant. As a guy who went to Wrigley Field this summer and experienced the in-game of it's pretty nice to just live along.
Oh yeah,
Yankees, Red Sox.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just
good thing.
Just the way it was.
Weird.
It'll be interesting to see how the playoffs.
As a guy who just admittedly says he hates change. Yeah. And you're all about one of the biggest changes
because we're getting back to what it used to be, which was quicker games. That was the initial change. That was the problem.
Okay.
See,
I'll say this though: the in-game experience suffers from the same thing that football suffers from, in that you do find that your eye gets drawn to the clock.
Yeah.
Right, like you do find because you get that on the pre-snap where you're like, oh, is he going to screw? Is he going to get the ball off in time? And it's kind of similar in baseball where you'll find that all of a sudden you start watching that clock a little bit to see if he's going to get caught.
See, I'm interested that you said though you enjoyed the in-game experience because I know at the start of the year, I saw a couple of people going I'll watch it on TV is great because it speeds it up, but when you go to the game. Well, you have less time now to go get your beer or whatever from the concession.
Yeah, maybe that's why I liked it. Maybe that's why I liked it, because it's kind of like people actually stayed in their seats and paid attention to the game. Whereas before, because you sat down thinking, well, I'm going to be here for 4 hours, you're like, well, I guess I'm going to go to the bathroom 5 times and get 7 beers, right? So, yeah.
That sounds like a nice little day.
Yes.
Cubbies do hold the final wild card spot in the NL. 1 game up on Miami, 2.5 up on the Reds, equal with the D-backs, and then the Phillies are the top spot of the wild card. Jays right now 1.5 up on Seattle. Them and Houston and Tampa have the 3 wild card spots at this moment. Man, Tampa really dropped.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a nice October for me.
Ooh, yeah. Quick note here. We got a text that came in 780-218-9999 says, guys, I've had this argument with bigger NFL fans than me. The NFL desperately needs analytics and evaluating QB talent. Makes no sense. The guaranteed money that Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson are getting based on their careers to date. With the Kyler Murray thing, I 100% agree. I can't believe they took out the 4-hour study window out of his clause when he went into that press conference and acted like a baby. Absolutely ridiculous, but that's going back to your point about quarterbacks and political situation.
Well, not only that, but just it is just such a unique position in all of sport that it does seem like they still believe in magic when it comes to that position. And I mean, you would like to think that with their greatest quarterback ever being a second round selection who no one saw coming. It would have changed their mindset in the idea that, like, no, we can develop and we can find gems later. But it really hasn't. It is still all about, was he taken in the first 15 picks or not? And if he was, we give him all the rope in the world. And if he wasn't, he's got 3 weeks to prove he belongs. And if not, he's delivering potato chips.
Like Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who got a monster contract too from the Raiders and diddly squat.
Yeah.
Well, that was before they added like rookie caps to their contracts. The problem with the QB and giving them the big money is when you find a QB who's great or looks great, like Kyler Murray at points in his career has looked outstanding.
Absolutely.
Deshaun Watson with Houston, prior to all the allegations and everything that happened to him, his suspension, he was a top tier quarterback in the National Football League. And the problem you have with the NFL is, who are you going to get to replace him? It's not easy to find quarterbacks. It's rare to be the Green Bay Packers where you went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and for 30 years or whatever it was, you had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Well, not just Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, but you had Aaron Rodgers waiting in the wings for 3 years,
but in the end, still, like,
ready to start.
You had the quarterback, and you never really took that dip. You know, you could be a team like, well, I'm not going to go Cleveland because they're the other extreme, but you know, even like the Ravens took a while. You know, it took a while to get to Lamar Jackson. Then there have been other quarterbacks that they have failed. A lot of teams, you get that quarterback, it's not an easy. You're going to be able to replace them. So, do you want to risk where they're going to head to the market and go somewhere else, and you lost them, or do you just want to lock them up, have your franchise there? And the risk is if they falter, like a Kyler Murray has or a Deshaun Watson has, you're stuck with them.
Yeah,
and I understand where the teams are when they hand out that massive contract to the QB because. Well, as a Ravens fan, we just went through this with Lamar Jackson this summer where it's, okay, do you let him walk eventually or do you just give him that money to keep him? And it is, well, what's the alternative? And the unknown is pretty scary in the NFL.
It's kind of similar to goaltending, right? Yes. And I think it's also similar to goaltending in the fact that I don't understand why teams don't give up more to get capable backups off of other teams. Like Demko would be the perfect example. Like when he was backing up, it was pretty clear this guy could be starting somewhere else. And if you were a team that was in desperate need of a true number one starter, like why you didn't throw out that first round pick to go and get a Thatcher Demko while he was still a backup on another team, I'll never understand that.
Because I think Vancouver knew that he was going to be their starter.
Yeah.
Like, well, but
not still, like it would be that you're going to have to march
if you already have your start, like the Green Bay Packers. If I'm Brett Favre, part of what makes me bitter is that you had Aaron Rodgers there. You want to win a Super Bowl, and your team is unwilling to take that trade piece and go and get you the players to get you a Super Bowl. Instead, they sit there and they're like, "Oh, we're okay with barely making the playoffs or not making the playoffs at all, as long as you keep selling your jerseys."
You didn't throw the pick 6 again or the kick to the Giants. The Packers might have made it.
That's right.
The last Super Bowls.
That's right.
Brett Favre's time with the Green Bay Packers. So it's on Brett.
It's also on an organization.
It's
an organization that did not do everything they could to surround him with talent.
Look at Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
They drafted him a wide receiver from the first round.
That's right. Yeah.
It's just incredible.
Or trade for another team's second best receiver to bring in, right? Like that's the thing that amazes me is that stars are stars, but these other organizations are terrible at identifying guys that are potential stars that have just been buried by depth in another organization. I actually wonder if the Oilers are about to experience the reverse of that with Ekholm, like that they're about to experience an actual star defender who, because he was behind a Roman Josi, we didn't realize just how good he was. Because the limited experience we've seen of him so far, that's an all-star defenseman.
Well, and Shea Weber was there too prior to that, so he was down the depth chart for sure. Good point.
This is the EST Hangout. Matt Awanek, Wil Fraser, Andrew Peard, Tom Gazzola. I don't know why I went in that order, but that's who's with you here on the Hangout. You're listening on EdmontonSportsTalk.com or you're watching on YouTube. I might go into the nasty chat in a little bit.
You can text us 780-218-9999. Jasmine wants to see these lovely hoodies in navy, by the way. What's the latest on this?
Thank you to our friends over at The Hive. Promotional marketing for getting us limited swag right now just so we could get on the air. with them. We will eventually, sometime in October, hopefully, fingers crossed,
like
have
all guests on the Hangout.
we're actually working on something, the thing for the Hangout guests.
Awesome.
Straight up.
Yeah,
We're actually working
up.
with, it's not, we don't have it for today, so apologies. Now you're never invited back. No, we will hopefully have some stuff to hand out, thanks to, again, our friends at the Hive, but Navy would work.
Yeah,
I just don't know if there is Navy hoodies that
actually I would go yellow. I would take the yellow.
You could do that.
A yellow hoodie?
Yeah.
A yellow hoodie?
Yellow, like no.
Yeah,
I think
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Color.
Wow.
Yeah.
To go all yellow.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully we'll have some t-shirts, hats.
Do you want to blend in or
hoodies.
stand out, man?
I still look nice.
I think these stand out.
Tommy Gazzoli, it's always going to be the case, buddy.
It's great having a model just right in house
Exactly.
that we can model these things with. We're gonna have them on the website.
Yeah.
Just with all the
That's right.
merch, so we could be like, this is what you can get.
Better hit the gym.
So yeah, no, that is still to come. And actually, I'll just quickly, there's something we want to do in terms of a contest here with the EST Hangout, where you, the listener, have a chance to actually fill one of these chairs. You can come in and join the Hangout one of these days. It's very simple how you can go do this. It's 3 steps. I don't know if that's simple then or not.
I was just going to say, classic Matthew Wonick. Yeah.
There's only 9.
There's only 9 steps or some minus 4.
Legal paper.
2 of the steps might already be completed.
Okay.
And they could just jump to the 3rd step. So step 1 is subscribe to the Edmonton Sports Talk YouTube channel. So if you're watching on YouTube right now and you haven't clicked subscribe, click subscribe. If you've clicked subscribe, you're good. So that's step 1. Step 2 is wherever you listen to your podcast, whether it be Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, subscribe to the EST Hangout. You follow us, subscribe, whatever you want, whatever that platform calls it, do that. And then send us screen caps of both of those to 780-218-9999. You could tweet at us at YEG Sports Talk or email me, matt@edmontonsportstalk.com, and you'll go into a draw where one of you will get to sit in the chair for a hangout.
Bonus points to someone who takes a physical picture of it, develops it, puts that in the mail, and sends it in.
So yes, subscribe to anyone on the podcast platform. Subscribe to the Edmonton Sports Talk YouTube channel. Send it to us, 780-218-9999, or tweet at us at YEG Sports Talk, or email us, matt@edmontonsportstalk.com, and you'll go into a draw. We'll run this for a couple weeks, and then someone will win to be able to join us in the hangout.
Simple.
I think it is.
It is simple. Jasmine
is.
also follows up with phrase.
Yeah.
Only if you wear matching yellow pants.
Guaranteed.
You would.
Oh,
That's a bull.
that would be an outfit.
So then do we get yellow shoes?
I actually have yellow shoes, so that would work perfectly. Yeah.
Running shoes?
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
That works.
Yeah.
I just, I've gone with some colorful clothes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever done the yellow.
Out for a trail run in that?
Yeah, but we're not going for a run in these.
Yes.
Yellow works best.
I agree.
That Oil Kings hoodie you have, I think that looks great with it. It's a good amount of yellow. You don't have more than that.
No, it's a nice piece done by our good buddy Rogan Dean.
I was going to ask, did Rogan Dean hook that up?
It's a Rogan Dean special for sure.
I need to discuss some of that with Rogan.
Yeah, you know where to find him.
I know where to find him. That's right. How is old Rogan Dean?
He's doing good. You know what? Year 17 for Rogan.
Seriously?
On the bench for the Oil Kings. He's been there since day one.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a lot of the reason that the Edmonton Oil Kings are, the class sort of the Western Hockey League, and why players get treated so well, and why we, not to toot our own horn, do things the right way. Is Rogan Dean is at the head of a lot of that and creating the culture that
I was going to say they worked on culture a lot early on to establish that.
Yes.
And it's carried over.
Yeah.
Rogues is a pillar in that organization. Him and Cheese were like the dynamic duo. But now Cheese is over at the Elks, which is a great get for the Elks. But yeah, Rogues, one of the best. He's like NHL quality.
He should be in the National Hockey League.
And I tell him that, and he's like, I love it here.
Then I'd have to work in the NHL.
Well, there are many perks. The hours are still crappy for the equipment managers and trainers, and the work is tireless, and a lot of times you're not getting the praise and thanks you deserve. But charter flights instead of buses.
Yeah.
tips from NHL players at the end of the year are much bigger than whatever the junior guys can come up with.
$25 Tim Hortons gift card.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Yeah. How about like a Harley Davidson?
Yeah.
For your birthday, or you know, $15,000 for making sure that your new batch of sticks showed up on time that season.
One of the best things was I think we were in the playoffs or maybe it's just the regular season, but we were coming back from Winnipeg. The Oilers were playing like in New York City, and we were both playing at the same time. And the Edmonton Oilers were back in Edmonton like half a day before the Edmonton Oil Kings were.
Those charter flights, man. I'll tell you what, I miss the hell out of them. That's the only thing I miss about that job is the travel. Everything else, no thanks.
Yeah, it was a tough life being on the road for you, Tommy.
Sure, let's tell people that.
Kevin Fence in the nasty chat. I have a question about the Oil Kings. I was at the game Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
The team looks more resilient. Are they getting any of their NHL tryout players back? Do you think that they'll...
We are anticipating that both Nathan Pilling and Wojtek Port will be available for us this weekend against the Lethbridge Hurricanes. Nathan, I mean, it's a great story. I mean, he's undrafted. He was a free agent invite to the Calgary Flames camp, and oftentimes those guys are just rookie camp fodder, but he actually made his way to main camp, so that was a really cool story for him. But expecting him back. And then Wojtek, not 100% sure yet, but you know, he's a 6th-round draft pick. They've gotten a couple of preseason games done. Likely is that he's going to be back.
What do they bring to the team?
Well, Wojtek on the back end, he's going to play big minutes. He plays in all situations. He's just smooth skating defenseman, moves the puck extremely well, transports the puck up and down the ice. He gets the Oil Kings pointed in the right direction coming out of the D zone. And then Nathan Pilling, a guy that we acquired last year in the Logan Dowhaniuk trade, a guy who'd been with us for 4.5 years. He was a big piece of that trade. He's a 6'3" forward, over 200 pounds, which you don't get a lot of in the Western Hockey League. And he's a guy that knows how to use it. He can be that prototypical power forward for us. The problem was last year he came over in December, and then in January he suffered an ankle injury, missed the rest of the year. So we haven't really quite gotten to see Nathan in an Oil Kings jersey for very long. But now once he's back from the Flames camp, he's going to be injected into that top 6, and we think he's going to be a big, big difference maker offensively for the Oil Kings.
Hey, Peard, when guys come back from NHL camp, can you tell just the amount of separation they have compared to their peers at the junior level because they have been exposed to NHL competition and being in those practices? Is there like a little window where they're just a little bit above and then they kind of fall back down to the rest of the group, or is that a far-fetched concept?
No, it's not far-fetched, and certainly, the guys are clicking along at a higher speed than that of a WHL practice. But as well, what you have to understand is when these guys are at these rookie camps and at these training camps, they're kind of at the bottom of the rung there, right? So they're not getting, all the drills. They're not getting, if they're in a preseason game, they're playing like 6-7 minutes, whereas in Edmonton, they're all guys that are north of 20 minutes, right? So there's an adjustment period coming back and getting the lungs back up to speed in terms of being ready to handle a heavier workload. But there's, you would never say a player coming back from an NHL training camp is a detriment to them or to your team.
Of course not.
It's obviously a good thing. Sometimes when you get a player back from the NHL in, let's say, January, that can be a little bit tricky. But when they come back from camps, it's always a good thing. And, it's something that they can help bring to the table and up the pace of practice.
I'll throw an example. It happened just yesterday. So there's 2 groups skating for the Oilers, like the team, and then the group that was going to play in Winnipeg. And then the end of the practice where the group flying to Winnipeg they were coming off the ice. There was like 10 guys that just went out and kind of skated on their own for half an hour. And those are the guys that on Friday are expected to be sent down to Bakersfield. So they're kind of the, lack of a better term, leftovers, if you will.
No. Well, the warm bodies.
That are
just around right now.
Yeah.
Cannon fodder.
I don't think they.
I won't say that phrase, but some people can use that term. But anyway, so I get what you're saying there. But I'm always curious because, I feel like naturally you have this little boost and you're slightly ahead of everyone else because you were just at a pro camp.
For sure. And you're just chock full of confidence, especially,
Absolutely.
The drafted guys, they're always obviously expecting to be there, but a guy like Nathan Pilling, a guy like Marc Lajoie, it's a nice shot in the arm for you that, you're at these camps and you're out there with some of the best.
And you want to get back.
And you want to get back. Yeah.
If you want to have
you're
a great
hungry.
season, you want to keep going because you want to make sure you're back there
100%.
next year, which it's like, I feel like it's a little different in the Canadian Football League type thing. There's always a concern of that player coming back from the NFL because are they going to look down on this and be like, yeah, I should have been in the NFL still or whatever it is? Or are they still going to be hungry to get back to the NFL type thing? And sometimes there's a mix of those players where they come here and they think lesser of this league and they just then don't pan out when they return or come to this league.
Yeah. My sense is that the NHL has improved leaps and bounds in its communication with players, especially young players. Like there was a time when kids would go to NHL camp, not make the team, and actually come back a little screwed up because they were kept in the dark for 3 weeks and not told anything, and then released and not told anything sort of situation. And I do think that that's probably still pretty prevalent in the NFL, where you have guys that did the NFL thing and were put through the ringer, were absolutely abused, and then basically come as injured pets back up to the CFL, a little bit broken by the experience that is the meat grinder of the NFL.
And it's tricky in the CFL sense where it's a player who is in the CFL, goes to the NFL, and then comes back. You know, when you come back to the CFL, you're probably not ever going back.
And that's where I see sometimes it could be Ricky Ray, who then just embraces it and becomes a great quarterback.
Henry Burris.
But then there's others that come back and they're just not the same player. They don't last long. And
was it Kelly Campbell like that with the
I forgot about that. That's a great call.
Yeah,
Kelly Campbell.
He was awesome. He went from the NFL, came down to the green and gold, and then went back to the NFL.
Yeah, he was in Miami.
Came back again, and it was just he flamed out.
Great call.
Casey Printers, remember him?
Yeah,
he was unbelievable. And
then he had the attitude and the arrogance that when he came back from Kansas City, it just wasn't there.
Singer Mobley was a guy who actually was able to go and play a couple of years in Dallas and come back and still be an impact player in the CFL. And he was interesting to talk to. The NFL, because of its salary cap and its minimum salary, that it's got a minimum salary creep. So basically every year that you're in the NFL, you make a bit more even at the minimum salary. And that was Singer Mobley, in that he was a team captain on special teams and was one of their better special teams player. But that salary creep ended up forcing him out of the NFL and back into the CFL.
And then he was only just a couple games shy of NFL pension.
That's right.
He never made NFL pension, and he was just a couple games shy.
Yeah.
This is a guy that could play in the NFL for his role, what he was doing, obviously not middle linebacker starting for the Dallas Cowboys, but
he was more nickelback in the NFL,
but a couple games short of the pension. Sucks, man. Which, it's a big one. But then he came up here and he was an incredible player. I actually ran into him at the Terry Vaughn retirement night. He was here for that.
He's in town, right?
No.
Oh, no.
I don't think I'll have to double check with JMO because I don't think he is. I think he flew up for it, but I'll have to double check because he used to stay around.
Right.
But I think he's gone and he came up. JMO introduced me. It was awesome. I met Terry Vaughn and then Senior Mobley right back to back. He was like, this is awesome. Eskimo fan from the early 2000s. Me was like, this is the greatest day of my I was YouTube Trev.
Well, Terry Ray and Singer Mobley were the dynamic duo in that linebacking core for the Eskimos. They were just so fast.
And then they switched to AJ Gass with Mobley. Man, those teams were incredible.
Yeah, they were top notch, and it was a good veteran leadership.
He'll be on the middle.
Yeah, he should be.
Eventually, I think Terry Vaughn was the big one that needed to happen first.
Yeah.
And now they can go to some of the other players in that early 2000s team and throw them up on the wall. And he'd have to be one of those.
Yeah.
Because he was a stud for this team.
He was
for many, many years.
And completely predictable as well. Like you threw him out there and you knew he would get between 9 and 12 tackles. He'd be in on a forced fumble. Like he was just
he'd be out there making plays.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, wherever the football was, there's a good chance Mobley would be there too because he's going to make a play.
Yeah.
So.
You know what's interesting? Talking to Dean Faithful after he finished up on the Nielsen show, like we're talking about guys and their legacies and wanting to stick around. Dean Faithful was like, I want to see where this goes. That's kind of neat. Like he wants to make a thing of this.
He's going to do some camps and stuff.
Yeah, that's nice to hear.
Yeah,
because it feels like in the last decade or so that you don't really. There's been so much movement in the CFL. I know the league's made a. It's been an issue that's been widely discussed, and the league's probably got it on its radar of something that they want to fix up. But to hear guys that are not from this area, or not from this country, are like, you know what, I'd like to see this through and see if I could make spend a lot of time here because there's and he recognized, he's like, there's so much movement in our league, and I was like, wow, that's refreshing to hear.
Odell Willis. A guy
there's
who's
a great
now
example.
made a home here in Edmonton, and he's left Edmonton and hit a couple of spots before his career ended. So he coming back here for a while until he moved away. Darius Bowman,
that's
lived
right.
here. And
he lived across the street from me. What a guy! He was a great guy. Yeah, I really liked him. Darius Bowman.
Willie Pless made a home here.
Yeah.
Even after he got traded, he still stayed here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yep.
Oh, that's what you want, and it's like you understand why someone leave, especially the Americans, because it's a foreign country to them. But those that stay, it's like it's that impression, and that's where, like, not to go back in history too much, but when they had the whole lost season for COVID, and the commission went in front of the House to try to get some money, and people were like, oh, we're giving money to Americans. I was like, but there's many that stick around
a lot,
and they end up actually being Canadians, and that's why, to me at the time, again, don't want to go through all of that. I understood why maybe there could have been money sent to the CFL.
Oh, you're an apologist.
Randy Ambrosie needs to go. He is a terrible commissioner.
Speak on the EST.
He is a terrible commissioner.
CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie goes one-on-one with Matthew Wanek.
He eats so much and never fully executes. I am not
a thankless job, pal. Like, no one's ever liked the commissioner of this NFL.
Go on, people love
him. He was actually really good. Tom Wright was half decent too. Jeffrey Orridge was a disaster. Terrible decision. Absolutely abomination of a decision.
We'll give Randy credit that he has solidified BC and Montreal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes,
he has found the ownership.
Toronto
markets are
just
solidified.
Needs people to show up.
Well, our former company could do a better job. They have the money, do a better job of
our old business
dealing with that. Yeah, MLSE owns that.
I know
there's good money behind that. Now it's on them to a degree to do more with that. I see what they do with TFC. You could do a little bit more with the Argos when it comes to them.
It's a good team over there.
But I will give Randy credit that those two markets, Montreal. And he Montreal should have been fine with the last ownership, and unfortunately, passing changed that. But to get Pelladeau and then Doman and BC, credit to you, Randy. That's all I have.
Coming up next week,
I have nothing else.
Hangout, Matthew Wanek, one-on-one, and it's not going to be as harsh as you thought with CFL Commissioner Randy Ambrosie. Let's get him in this chair.
Here's the thing: they have a U.S. TV deal, and they're basically not on U.S. television anymore. The rest of
that U.S. TV deal's
it was great for the summer, but now it's only on CFL Plus in the States.
Yeah,
a Grey Cup game is not going to be on television for the first time. I don't know how many years down south. Well done, Randy. Well done.
Looking forward to this one-on-one that I just made up is going to happen. All right.
What?
Should we get on the horn to the CFL PR and be like, we need Randy next week now on the Hangout?
If he's in town, we'll invite him.
I didn't know TV was still a thing.
It's important.
Honestly,
Pat McAfee averaged, I think, 200,000 YouTube views or something like that.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
When he went to ESPN, he's now getting 300,000.
Yeah.
TV still matters. TV still gives you that.
No, I understand that it will still drive a little bit, but as far as a league like the CFL, you don't need a TV partner. You just need to put your product out there.
You're the CFL and you're not going to spend money on marketing in the US. So how do you get people to watch a championship game, the Grey Cup?
I don't know.
At the very least, you're before on ESPN2. I know you're going up against Sunday Night Football. At least if someone's flipping the channels, maybe they see it.
I watched the Grey Cup, the 2012 Grey Cup, in the sports book, I think at Caesar's Palace, and it was on the main screen, even though it was Sunday Night Football.
They ain't putting CFL Plus up.
No, they're not putting CFL Plus up.
Yeah, but it's interesting how you talk about the flipping of channels. I don't.
Well, I don't, right?
Yeah, I don't have cable or anything, right? But my life is streaming nowadays, and so it's a simple case. Thursday Night Football I watch on Amazon Prime. It's just kind of it's a
Bezos love.
It's I just think it's a different world, and so to worry about what used to be
then you have to be on
rather than trying to get your foothold in what is actually driving
be on a proper streaming platform.
I agree.
That's the difference. Be on The Zone or be on
Apple TV or
on Apple TV or something where then someone could still go see it. You can't go out into the US as the Canadian Football League with your own platform.
The criticism isn't that you're not on ESPN. The criticism is that you have not looked at where the consumer has gone and followed the consumer.
I still wouldn't be upset if they were on ESPN2.
Yeah.
Because again, there are still people that do have TV, and they'll go on their guide and they might see Grey Cup and they might stop on it.
Yeah, that's true.
They might.
Nash and Whitecourt texts in 780-218-9999. Phrase is just dropping hot takes like an MFer today.
An MFer?
An M. He used the full word. I'm going to drop it. Yeah.
What?
Nash and Whitecourt.
Was that a text?
Yeah, it was a text.
Wow.
I just said 780-218-9999.
Master check.
Brandon from Windsor. I want to read this one. Having Carrie Underwood performing might get some Americans interested in the CFL. Yes, but she's playing the first.
She's playing it. Yeah, she's playing a show on like the Friday night or something. She's not playing based on what I
part of the festivities.
Yeah, so she's not halftime, which is going to be very interesting when halftime is.
Right.
They haven't announced that yet?
They haven't announced that yet.
The halftime show has kind of died, though. Like, isn't Usher doing the super? Like, the halftime performance is kind of.
It still matters.
I think it matters.
If you get the right artist in there, it matters.
Now, what if you come up with an artist that's lesser than Carrie Underwood, though? That or is this?
Isn't that what Usher is like?
Well, it does, but she's I
guess that's my point. Is if the Super Bowl can't attract top talent.
Well, they got Rihanna last year, so they absolutely can attract top talent.
Yeah.
They still can.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that thoroughly.
I just feel like the CFL's in a tough spot right now where
you now have to be.
You have to compete with Carrie Underwood on your Friday.
Yeah.
Is your halftime going to be better than Carrie Underwood?
Well, no.
I think she would be an awesome halftime.
Yeah.
Could she do both?
I've seen her in concert. She's wonderful. Yeah.
I still just remember the Saskatchewan one where they had the snowmobiles doing backflips in the background. Give me that and Super Dogs, and I'll be happy.
She's performing Grey Cup halftime show. How many people are going to be confused? Because there will be some.
Yeah.
And she's doing the Sunday Night Football intro, and then she's doing the halftime show. And how did she do both?
What if we
There's
just
going to be some people?
What if we just had a Carrie Underwood look-alike lip-singing Carrie Underwood songs? Would that work for you?
I just think that it's a great get for the CFL. I'm just now very intrigued what the halftime show is, because can you top Carrie Underwood for the halftime show? If they can, Randy, good job. I'll give him
Randy Ambrosi right here on the Hangout next week. I'm just
and where he will announce Carrie Underwood as the Grey Cup halftime show.
Darren Texas says, "I wish the CFL was on ESPN2. I live in Florida."
Well, CFL Plus apparently. CFL Plus, Oil Kings next game
Friday night. Lethbridge Hurricanes 7:00 Rogers Place.
Ticketmaster.ca.
Go to oilkings.ca/tickets. Get your tickets, $20, and we have an all new kids combo menu. People have been dying for it at Rogers Place, and for Oil King games, $10. And we're not talking like you just get like a bucket of popcorn and a pop for $10. No, you get a burger, you get chips, you get a drink that costs you $10, and we got some stuff on there that's $7.50.
Nice.
And it's all combos. It's multiple items for everything. So, for under $30, you can get your kids into a hockey game, and I think that's for what entertainment costs these days, that's pretty good.
Solid work by Radomski there. Will, run today?
You know what? I finished up an 8.5 yesterday and a 10 before that.
So a rest day.
I might need a rest day. I was thinking I don't want to do a rest day.
You earned it,
but I might need it. I'm an old man now, so
well, distinguished. Thanks for coming in once again on the
EST. What are you doing today?
Tommy, what are you doing today?
I'm building the Edmonton Sports Talk satellite studios in my office den at my home. Thank you for asking.
It's too much work to come in here. You have to do a satellite office.
Logistically, it makes sense to have a satellite studio just in case. And we're finally building it 3 months into me living in my new place.
Well, not we building it. You're building it.
You're going to be coming over because you live in my building, and you're going to
be building. I was there first.
Josh Park will come over and help you as well.
Josh Park lives
ran into him a few times.
That's
right. Josh. No, do it up. Wrap up today's edition of the EST Hangout. Coming up next, it is the Lock Shop, and then coming up at 12, two guys in a goalie, a Dusty, a Gager, and Cassie, and that's here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, as well as our YouTube channel. Again, subscribe to EST Hangout on a podcast. Subscribe to the EST YouTube channel. Send it to us, and you go into a draw for sitting in one of these chairs. See, it's not that much. On behalf of Wil Fraser, Andrew Peard, Tom Gazzola, I'm Matt Iwanek. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll chat with you tomorrow.